actually to that terms, and they said that not that we're not gonna accept those terms, but we have 5 conditions. The conditions were, first condition was that U.S. has to pay for all the damages caused during the war. U.S. must not must stop the war and must not attack Iran or any of Iranian proxies in the region in future. And there was like I think U.S. has to evacuate the bases in the region, and there was like 2 more that I can't remember. But if you want me, I can look it up and.
I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, the interesting thing is this is not a great. This is like we're at the negotiation of the Ukraine freaking Russia deal. That's like this right now. It's like the same type of negotiation. There's nothing really going on here right now.
Exactly. They are so far away. I mean, far apart that I mean, it's not imaginable to come to agree.
Trump has got to choke point the Iranian economy, break it down. I mean, limited ground troop, and then somehow uprise and have the internal people ask the regime somehow and put their own puppet in play. But that's just not possible. That's the ultimate proper way if Trump could pull that out, the genie in the bottle. That's no way to do that now. It's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, the uprising is an option, but I think that would be the last option.
I don't think it's possible, though. You wouldn't be able to do it, though.
I'm not sure, actually. Because Iran, I mean, if...
I mean, you have 8 million people that still support IRGC, and 85 million, 7 million still support them.
Not 8 million, no. I mean, the best they have is like maybe 200K IRGC who are armed, and willing to shoot people and massacre for the regime. The best, at best, I think it's like 100 to 200K. That's all.
I think there's some very intelligent things that have been said. I mean, basically what Saul says is that even if Trump cares about his place in history and he wants to keep the war going, the political reality in the U.S. is Trump is forced to essentially capitulate at some point in the next couple of months. No matter how painful it is to say that, and it is painful, Saul makes a very strong argument that the politics in the U.S. will undercut him and force him to capitulate. Is that in essence your argument, Saul?
That's absolutely the case. Absolutely. He's going to have the tariff thing all over again, basically.
Well, that's your strong opinion, and I respect it, but just because that's your opinion doesn't mean it's reality. It's the case that that's your opinion, not the case that it's definitely reality.
That's true. It's a high assumption on my part, in my opinion, correct. But if you look at the track record of what's happened right now, in an ideal scenario, Trump, I think, a bit more than he can chew, definitely more than he can swallow. And I think he's riding on plan C, D right now. Get on a high note, cut a deal. I'm out of this thing. That's what he's aiming for right now.
Well, I admit that you may be right, and America has half-assed a lot of wars. America has left a lot of allies hanging a lot of times. So this would not be the first time that America goes halfway and has to leave for political reasons. So you may be right. I hope you're not right, but you may be right.
But as a counter-argument, I can say that Trump mentioned it many times that he doesn't want U.S. in 5-10 years to again go back and have the same struggle with this regime.
Well, who doesn't want it, by the way? Let me ask you this question. You said 5-10 years. Who doesn't want it?
The U.S.
Well, no, Trump is a great sales guy. He's going to repackage this and sell it back on the market and say, look, I've got a security for us for the next 30 years. I put them back. And the American people chew it up and eat it and swallow it.
international politics too. Right now, Qatar, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, these guys used to be very civil with Iran, but Iran has lost the credibility. So I'm hoping that they're going to join with this Hormuz Strait and even send some military and help. Because it's in their benefit too for this regime to go, as we can see, especially this motherfucking Qatar. I remember 4 years ago when it was World Cup, they were kicking out the Iranians with a different flag, and they were just like handing out Iranian regime all their names, so to do something to them when they come back home, and Jordan too. So I'm kind of happy that now that they got their taste of their own medicine, and they have to be hit too. So I'm sure that they're going to help somehow too. They're not going to sit down there and watch their countries to get destroyed because they're very tiny, right? And their economy, they don't have agriculture. Their whole life depends on oil and the safety of that area, so they can attract some tourists.
Yeah, there's no other country.
Let me respond to that. Hold on, let me respond to that. Yes, everything you say is true, and this war has made the U.S. much closer ally with Bahrain and Qatar and Saudi Arabia. This war has been an incredible bonding experience for all the countries in the world have bonded in hatred of Iran, and that's a good thing. But the negative is none of those countries are willing to commit ground troops to fight Iran. In fact, I would say there's nobody in the world that I've really heard of that's eager to commit ground troops. So it's nice to have allies, but the U.S. has precisely zero allies willing to send in ground troops. Now, if anyone in the room disagrees with me, I want to hear it.
No, you're 100% right. We, at the end of the day, this whole thing, we get nothing out of it. Like, this is actually, at the end of all this, we're just buying more time. The GCC are not going to go to war with each other. That's not going to happen. Right, these Gulf countries pay the U.S. to protect them. They just now tested that theory. The simulated, that just actually went into real test, and they now are looking at alternative people to alliance to make alliance deals with outside the U.S. But that GCC is not going to go to war in Iran. They're not going to spin that direction at all. The curious piece I want to ask you guys is, what is Israel's remaining motive left in this? What do they want out of it?
Well,
that's very easy to say. Hold on, let me state a piece, and then I want to hear your. Israel wants the attacks on Israel to stop. They want Hamas to stop getting money from Iran, and they want Hezbollah to stop getting money from Iran. Israel, for obvious reasons, will keep pressuring the mullahs until the mullahs stop funding Hamas and Hezbollah. In my opinion, I'm done speaking. I want to hear everyone else.
Well, the biggest enemy of IRGC is Israel, and from day one, they have the hatred toward Israel, and they have this ideology that Israel has to be wiped out of the map. So that's that, and there goes the hardcore support for Palestinians, and then that's supporting these to do damage in Israel and all. That I'm sure you know about it. So Israel, Netanyahu has been planning for this for over 20 years, from the intel that we're receiving from the intel that we're seeing right now, that how much far the planning goes into this. And even U.S. tried a couple of times to hold the war, like, this war started because Israel called 48 hours, like a day before, saying, oh, I'm going to, by the way, bomb the supreme leader. And even the last war was too, that Israel was afraid that U.S. is going to do the negotiation and IRGC is going to stay in power and still start the planning. I would highly recommend, if you guys can watch the interview that Catherine Shackton did, explains that how when she penetrated to the Supreme Leader circle, what she saw and the planning that she saw about Israel, that sums it up.
Yeah, the only way that threats to the Israel gonna be gone is that this regime is toppled, because being enemy with Israel is the core ideology of this regime. If you take it out, without it, the regime does not exist, does not survive. So the only way to, if in the deal, I mean, if they negotiate and the anything in the deal that support Israel or include not attacking Israel in the future by IRGC or Iran, that's gonna destroy the regime from inside, and I'm 100% sure that the regime not gonna sign such a deal or such a.
Well, I just want to go back and rewind a couple minutes to Sky. So we don't really know the real who started what. That's classified. But I would just say that this is not yesterday in the making. This card was put on the table 20 years ago on Bush 2. There was a play to look at Iran then as well. And even, like the Venezuela thing, that was not even 6 months a year. That was a play put together 5 years ago, right? So they have deals on the table, cooked up, planned, pre-planned, way, way in advance. It's on every country in the world, right? So the thing is, I'm just wondering, can this bad deal turn into a good deal, and at the end of it, repackage, like Trump will repackage it, sell it, and make it look like a good deal? But then, if Israel doesn't get what they want, can the U.S. restrain Israel and stop them now? What is the remaining motivation from Israel's perspective to not continue forward if the U.S. yanks the chain and says stop? That's what I'm curious about. Can they do that?
Israel is going for a regime change, yes. If you look at the history of Iran with Israel back in 580 BC, Cyrus the Great, the Kingdom of Iran, they liberated Jewish people because they were taken. Jerusalem was conquered by Babylonians back in the day. And in 530 BC, when Cyrus liberated them so they could go back to their homeland. So we always had, in the history, we were friends. But since this IRGC people came out, they shut out everybody who was Jewish. They had to escape. There's only 8,000 Jewish people in Iran, and they're very oppressed. I personally know some. And they don't guarantee visa for anybody who is even linked to Israel. Like, if my great-grandma goes to Israel, I'll be in jail because I'll be, I'll be accused of being a spy somehow. So that's the type of a thing. They kept that enemy. You know how some countries rule by that. They have this imaginary enemy, and they make their ideology around it so they can have a idiot support group that they can manipulate, and that's how the regime has been doing it. Now, I'm 100% sure Netanyahu is not going to stop. If U.S. decides to withdraw, Netanyahu will still go after the IRGC until they're gone, because, Israel is very close to Iran, and this IRGC, if they're in power, they're not going to stop attacking Israel. So that will go on, and Israel being the only ally U.S. has, if Israel gets weakened, then U.S. has no allies over there. So that's also that's also another thing that as an American, we need some allies in the Middle East. We can just let. It's not that U.S. is protecting these countries too. I believe that they're paying for support of America in these Middle Eastern countries. But don't forget, that's a biggest strategy, war strategy, that you want to defend your country as far as possible to your homeland, because the more powerful we are, the more bases we have around the world. That's just a basic thing that any country in the right mind will do so. So it's not that we're there to serve these countries. We're there because we want to make sure we're in power, and we know shit before it hits to the home.
So BB, Kel, you have a question. Can the Godfather tell BB to pump the brakes and stop and live and accept with whatever regime? Can he convince him to do it? Number one, right? Can he do that?
Anyone who wants to answer? I don't think so. I don't think people will be stopped though. And then look at the world. What kind of war we're heading to? We have a bunch of dictators who are very pro-war. Like, we have Putin, and then we have Netanyahu, right? Like, he's not a negotiation guy. He's like, eliminate them. And then now Uncle Trump is kind of joining the club too, with maximum pressure. So, and then North Korea from the other side. So maybe that's the style of politics from now on. So I don't think they will stop until they.
The irony in this, the really interesting irony is BB and the Godfather both have political dynamics within their own countries. That's what's nuts about this. They both have their own type of internal political problems that will come to bear very soon. And I don't know, Calvi, if you really look at that, both of them do.
Yeah, I know they both do, but I think the worst is that they get nothing out of this war and then go back to their countries, you know. That would be even
What I'm
worse.
trying to say is, I don't know if Bibi can even push the war longer as well. He's running a case in his own circle. It's becoming problematic. In the Israeli parliament right now, there's issues there spinning up. Just like Trump's going to have issues down the road potentially. You know, if the Dems win the House, they're going to probably yank and say, "Let's go get this guy once more." 100%. Started the articles of impeachment, act this, get him out, stop the whole thing mid-flight, whatever it's in. I mean, it's all, and then Bibi's got that corruption that's just been cooking in the back that he's buried for years, like months and years ago, that will probably spin back up somehow.
Well, I'd like to hear more opinions because what I've heard so far in this room makes me pretty sad. I've just heard a lot of problems and no great solutions, honestly.
Well, what is your quote-unquote definition of a solution that you're looking for?
Well, I started the room saying I would really like to bribe the Iranian military to overthrow the IRGC, and I'd like the Iranian
I must have missed that then. Okay, wow, interesting.
That's what, well, hold on. I'm not saying that's realistic, but that's what I want to see happen. Does that answer your question, Saul?
I'll walk the horse on the water on that with me. How would you play this bribe?
Okay. Well, first of all, my understanding is there are negotiations going on right now with generals, where essentially the generals, they've targeted generals that don't like the IRGC, generals who are being offered the chance to get air support from the U.S. and get support from the U.S. for them to persuade the Iranian military to rebel against the IRGC and kill the IRGC. Now, that's not far-fetched in the scheme of Middle East politics. And in fact, many Middle Eastern countries have had the military overthrow the government. It's not even unusual for the military to overthrow the government. The only question on the table is, are U.S. diplomats skillful enough to persuade the Iranian military to overthrow the government?
Well, so the Venezuela drug deal was like that. If you go back and look at this, right, the general came to the U.S., did a $50 million grab and said, I'll start giving you intel 5 years ago, and that's how the Venezuela play started. But that was another way around. They reached out here, right? So in this scenario, I don't really know, but Dana, the question what I have is, if you stack the military against IRGC, which IRGC has their own group of military as well, right? They have it's a weird fucking situation in that country, the way they operate.
Hold on, let me. Before you were in the room, I made the analogy of the Wehrmacht versus the SS, right? The SS were the true believers, and the Wehrmacht were just nationalists going along with it. So there's ample evidence that it would have been possible to bribe the Wehrmacht to overthrow the SS, and in fact, elements of the Wehrmacht actually tried to overthrow the SS, but they failed. So the analogy is, we know that some members of the Iranian military are in negotiations with the CIA to overthrow the government. What we don't know is how high up they are, how much support they have, how motivated they are. But the bottom line is the U.S. has plenty of money to pay to the Iranian military to overthrow. So it's not out of the question, right, Saul?
I think that Trump was trying to do that, but he might have killed the person along the way that he wanted to do it with. I don't know if there's a powerful military figure left to do a drug deal with. That's what I would question. I think that was plan A in some degree or plan B. We're on C and D now, whatever that is.
I'm not sure that Probably you're right, but I'm not sure it's off the table because what's happened over the past 3 weeks is a lot of the powerful people in the Republican Guard are dead. A lot of the people in the IRGC are dead. So the point is, the Iranian military would find it much easier to overthrow the IRGC today than they would a month ago. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it's easier, Saul.
The question is, I think, right, they might have, who's going to do it, number one, right? Is that person or persons equipped to do it? And I think they might have looked at that top 50, whoever they wiped out. Maybe there might have been a stronger candidate there. Like, we got to find a qualified candidate, right? Who's going to be that? I think that's the struggle right now.
You're correct, but I'd be eager to hear from everyone else in the room, especially if they want to criticize my plans.
If you want an intelligent answer on how to solve the conflict, this may not be traditional, but I will be succinct. I suggest we go to Samsung and Apple, the largest cell phone manufacturers on the planet, pump out 20 million cell phones with Clubhouse. With Clubhouse, and we drop them off throughout the country strategically. I'll be succinct. And, either it's going to solve the war or it's going to cause World War III. I'm not sure.
I like that idea.
They will have it though. So here's the thing. Reza Pahlavi claims that he does have immortal guard members, that they're around 50,000 people. And immortal guards, they were the ones back in 1979 with the sole purpose of, it was a military base, that their sole purpose was to protect the Shah. And he's been mentioning that for a while, even before.
Well, he's been saying that on a beach, drinking a drink on a yacht on a beach somewhere, saying that, right? I don't know if I believe that too.
It's everybody. Every politician is doing that. We can't blame them, wouldn't you? Trust me, like every one of us would do the same if we had their power. So that can't be, used against them. But he's mentioning that their sole purpose is to help with the toppling the regime when time is right. And from what I see, that he's getting promoted by all these media and sitting down with, Sancom and Lindsey Graham and all these Republicans, I think they reached to the idea of supporting him for transition period, and I think that would be a good plan.
I don't know. That's not going to happen. I think they're testing the waters on that. There's no way that's going to work. I don't know what card he's playing on the table, what bluff he has, but that would be a suicide mission.
What do you think about having Blackwater do the job?
So that's interesting, right? I actually was thinking about that, bringing private contractors, right? Let's bring them in, elite ones, right? And do some stealth operations. I was actually wondering, I was contemplating on that, but how complex would that be? Yeah, something like that. I was actually thinking about that today, like how would that play out?
I think the one problem with Blackwater is very few Blackwater operatives speak Farsi. And so I think it'd be very hard for Blackwater to operate because they don't speak Farsi, unfortunately.
See, the thing is, right, look at it this way. The most sophisticated intelligence is not even CIA on ground there. It's really Mossad that has way more better intelligence gathering techniques there. They probably have, with that last run, they lost a lot of people when they were doing the whole rug pulling and looking at everyone who's working as an operative, right? But who's remaining? Like, who do they have left? I would leverage that and see what those guys can pull out, not this way around.
Well, they used to hire Afghani people because a lot of them. So this is how the last year plan went out. The Mossad was hiring Afghani people because they're illegal in Iran, right? And most of them work for city money. And they don't get health care and whatnot, and they're everywhere. Like everybody has at least a housekeeper who's Afghani or contractor or something like that. And then these guys were penetrated. They were even cheap dollar. They got bought, and they hit IRGC within the home too for the first round. So that's how it was. But when the Union regime found out, they deported everybody and they killed a lot of them. So that plan is out of the window too.
Dana, I have a question. Let's say stealth covertly, they wanted to bring in arms. What areas would they do this? Like, look geographically. I know there's a couple of areas I looked at. But what routes would they take to do this?
Jack Black realized his son spent thousands of dollars on video. Mostly in the border cities like Kurdistan, Balochistan, and Iran and cities like that, because within the central of Iran, Iran is behind all of that.
And how much armed of the, I guess, to create a rebel force of armed, how much would that, what kind of quantity are we talking when we try to do this plan of overthrowing, like whatever this looks like, what would that, what kind of capacity would it take to do this? I believe 100K plus, 100, 200, something like that. It's something between 100 to 150 would do. Probably. That's my guess, of course, But I don't have the logic, but my guess is like 150 probably would do. Kitover News, time for the deepest breath of the day. So, Calvi, it's highly possible, this is what the Godfather's master at, right? Distractions. Put something else in front of someone and then distract. They're probably saying, we're doing a deal. Maybe they're arming people in the behind the scenes. It's highly possible under the table that's happening. That's why I asked that question.
Yeah, it is. So to be honest, I mean, that we know that there are a lot of Mossad agents and CIA agents in Iran in the ground and working with some people called Shah guards. So that's the people that Sky was referring to as. That they are Iranian who are Pahlavi's, supporters, and they claim to be their guards. So they also willing to fighting with guns in the streets as well. So
if you had to model out the simulation of, let's say, they infiltrated, right, armed, where in what city would they start this, and how would this tactically work? Like how would you spread them around? I mean, obviously do they have enough capacity, and where would they locate the capacity, and how would they initiate that? I'm just curious. I'm not a military expert here, but I'm just curious. How would that work?
Yeah, I'm not too. So, but geographically, if I think of it, it should be from I would say it's from south and west probably. That's more likely.
And so, what major cities would you
It's the south of Iran. We have Bandar Abbas, Bushehr, and Khuzestan. And in the west, we have Kurdistan and Ilam. Those are the cities the provinces and cities that, most likely it can start from.
So, at what X percentage of the armed population against whatever force there, if you looked at, would be battling who, in what type of, I'm just trying to model that out, how much forces would you send in versus how much response would be waiting?
And I went to Melbourne and I saw what they're doing, their symbols, their chants.
That's the Turkey one. The problem is that what kind of forces you're talking about? Are you talking about heavy guns and tanks and stuff like that?
Not even capable right now. I don't know if they have
the people that are watching around them and what they're doing.
Your voice gone.
People out of their mind.
How would they even do this? How would they walk into it?
Unfortunately, the world is run by a
So your voice is breaking, so I can't hear you.
run by a group of pedophiles, Epstein class. It's just.
I think you've gone to a matrix.
It's insane at the moment.
No, I was saying X number of people plus artillery or what kind of support behind the scene plus air cover. I mean, what would they need capacity to handle a type of response that's going to be waiting? What does that look like?
To be honest, what I can assume or imagine that would work is around between 100 to 200K armed troops plus air support, which is with most likely with drones, not with fighter jet, because they need to pinpoint the stop points and stuff like that. And if they have the air support, they have those troops on the ground. I think they can make it. But on the other hand, the regime and IRGC, well, they can't, they don't have the air, so they can't use their helicopters and drones and stuff like that. Uh, Troops, they might have, like, as I said, somewhere between 100 to 200K, maybe. Uh, but, those troops are all over Iran, and Iran is a big country, so, they are not centralized in one place.
I saw a photo today of a mountain that's being used to store, manufacture, and launch rockets,
Yes.
similar to the bullshit that I saw come out of Afghanistan with Tora Bora, which was Bin Laden's uh, mountain fortress, which is like a 007 type of bullshit. It just doesn't exist. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist in Iran, but when you have one way in and one way out to, ship your payloads, like, what kind of fucking strategy is that? I mean, you can just have, F-15s soar above and drones monitor that opening in the mountain, but one strike on it is enough to cause enough damage to make the whole facility, useless. So, I mean, to me, putting troops on the ground uh, just creates a new dopamine, a new media sensation. But the way the Israelis do it is through intelligence and strategic, aerial bombardment. They've been harassing the Hezbollah, etc. With that method for a while. To deploy troops is stupid, but it seems to me like they're preventing. If they have to prevent for 3 years or 5 years their ability to build a nuclear weapon, by doing aerial bombardments, it doesn't seem to me like that strategy is ever going to lose its luster. It seems like an ever going part of the industry.
I think by just taking over the Strait of Hormuz and those two islands around it, IRGC will fall, because that's the only way they can make money right now. And that's been a plan for a while offered to presidents of the US. I think that itself is enough. And then if you look at the dynamic of Tehran, Tehran is a city that last year they had a plan to transfer the capital city to Semnan because it doesn't respond anymore, can't serve the people of Tehran since it's 12 million people. The pollution and the water damage in Tehran was very serious issue for a while. So with that war being on top of it, it's not a very strong city to stay under the war for so long. So I don't think it's going to be such a hard thing to do to topple the regime in a few weeks.
Problem with that, Sky, is going back to what Calvi said. We will take a hit, and I don't think U.S. wants to see dead bodies of U.S. Military. Members on the ground. We're going to have that kind of effect. There. We're talking like hundreds of people dying.
America has already lost 20 people and suffered 200 casualties.
I understand that, but that's the difference between we're talking like 10 times more of that.
I understand, but
I don't think the stomach exists in the U.S. for that to continue. That's the problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of things about that too, the lefties and all that. But here's the thing: if you look, like Japan is trying to send some ships to the company ships that coming through the Strait of Hormuz. Some other countries also announced that they're going to do the same, and they will follow through. This is not going to be a long run just the U.S. anymore or Israel anymore. I'm 100% sure of that because these countries are getting hit with the prices too, and the effect is much more than U.S. Is they're not as successful as U.S. to compensate in other departments, so they have to come through anyway. And I don't believe that U.S. is going to get hit in those islands because IRGC is they're very weak. Don't look at their bombing around the area. That's just like when you're on your last strands, you do that shit. Yeah. So I can't see it.
I don't think anyone else is joining because they can just go to the Iranians and say, give us the oil like the Pakistanis just got a little bit going through. I don't think no other country has a reason to join for no reason. Like there's no one that's going to get involved here unless the U.S. pressures them, which I don't even think it makes any sense. I think what you're talking about, minimal. We're making assumptions on how much minimal presence they have, but they can still strike drones. Tens of thousands of them available. They can still kill people.
It's a regime that has a lot more depth that has been presumed. It's an ideological regime. It's totalitarian, not just a dictatorship. There's a dictator and few others who are running the country. They have supporters, and they're 47 years old plus 1,400 years of ideology and religion behind it. So we have to look at it that way. Look at Hamas in strip of Gaza. Gaza, nothing left, but Hamas still. I mean, it's not resolved. Look at Hezbollah and Lebanon and on all that. So it's of that nature. They don't just easily dissipate because they were terrorists to begin with, and the terrorists became rulers, and the rules that the terrorists engage is that first of all, everything goes. They can kill people in the metro station or send bombs to your neighboring countries. It doesn't matter. And also terrorists doesn't even mind, for them is death. For others is life. So they just look at things totally differently. And so we have to know who our enemy is and then how to fight them. I think Israel knows. I don't think Trump still gets it. There are level 1 or 2 maybe of the regime rulers that have been neutralized, but there are a lot more because it has a lot more depth. So until we get rid of majority of them, they still going to run because they have learned to be kind of functioning horizontally as a network rather than, not that they don't have the vertical system. In a way, I'm saying it has to be. You have to take care of those, but they haven't. I mean, I look at posters and pictures of the wanted. There's still at least, I'd say, 30 of them, well known in all different structures of the country, from military sources, etc., intelligence and all that. And remember, Russia is taking advantage of this. Ukraine is not the main thing now, and they are getting all the intelligence from Russia too. And so you are looking at a KGB style system, plus they have people supporters, and so when we're talking about sending forces or contractors, etc., those things would work if it's a dictatorship, but something like this, you need a lot more people than just bunch of contractors, because they have regular people on the ground too. Right now, the past few days, they're hiring kids from 14 years and up to to defend or whatever. So that's what we're dealing with. And on the other hand, I don't want to be talking for a long time. On the other hand, on this end, on our end, Trump, like the last comments, is giving a message is that he wants to end this fast. Well, I hope so, but these people are there. They have the time, and if Gaza ended fast, Lebanon ended fast, then Iran thing would end fast too. But we have started from the top, but we have not finished. He's trying to negotiate with people who they were born this way, to be anti-West, anti-America, etc. So those are the wrong people to negotiate.
You brought up an excellent point about the whole. I mean, this would convert into like, look at the Israelis trying to hit mosques. I mean, you're talking, behemoth hitting someone with sticks and pebbles, right? And that's comparison. It's the same thing. We'd be in the reverse Israel Hamas situation if we'd landed there underestimating them. That's an excellent point that you just brought up, and I think that's highly possible. Don't underestimate them. And this is like a freaking KGB style network spread across horizontally. The thing I wanted to ask you, David, is why is he asking to do a deal all of a sudden now? Like, really think about why would you just bring it up magically? If you wanted to take it now. Why would you even not take it? Just go and take it over right now. Why delay it even further? Why all of a sudden start asking now? Let's do a fast deal. There's no fast deal anywhere. And then going back to this whole thing of starting it, if you wanted to take out the quote unquote missiles and you could have stealthily done that. You could have brought in stealth operators to go and like rig the thing and blow them up, right? Why are you doing all of a sudden?
Well, I'd say number one is he needs some time. For first of all, is the markets. You had to assure the markets things was kind of getting out of hand, and oil market, stock market, etc. Not that they're happy with it, but at least you give some positive information, and that might just delay the big panic. Also, it appears that up to 10,000 forces are heading that way. And it needs time, the strategy, how many, if they're going to take over some islands, which ones, how are they going to do it? And apparently it was not in the plan, so these things take a little bit more planning. I believe, and from the information that I received from people, because I'm not a militarist but have a lot of knowledge, is that the U.S. didn't go in with all its force. I don't mean the, soldiers or whatever, or tanks. I'm talking about even the from the air. So, because we have the capacity to, just like Israel has the dome to defend, we have the capacity to create some sort of a dome there to allow these, at least the missiles to go through. And we don't have such planes and such structure that we have in military in the air 24 hours. I know Iran is a huge country, but I think they underestimated it, and they thought like it's just gonna, get rid of Khamenei and a few others, and it's just gonna fall apart. And like I said, they misunderstood, miscalculated, because like I said, it's not a dictatorship that you have a dictator and his family and a few guys and you just get rid of them, it's over. It's not even, it's not the style of Venezuela. This is much deeper than that. And I give you even Saddam, like, look, we bombed the hell out of him, shock and awe, but still they were there. So we had to, I'm not saying that's the solution for Iran, but that's what we did. We took tanks, soldiers, street by street, city by city. We went to Baghdad eventually after Basra, days and days, surrounded Baghdad, and it was a lot of work, a lot of military force and tanks and all that, and at the end still Saddam and his forces were fighting, and eventually they found them in a hole, so he fought to the end. So these guys are even worse, and they have more people. Saddam was more of a still dictator, not a he had his own ideology, but nothing like these guys. Or Gaddafi, he went all the way. So these are examples. Or even look at the Taliban. At the end, they just gave it back to them. So these are the type of people we're dealing with. And we had the experience. I think it was not, the intelligence was not right. We went kind of, okay, we're going to just finish this, get in, get out. That was not the case. Not in Middle East, not in Iran.
100%. I think he is. The people around Trump surrounding him they misled him to some degree. But at the end of the day, we don't really know what the hell's going on in his head. But I would have to say I agree with what you're just talking about. Like, I think that makes so much more sense. They really, and I just don't know, like, what the U.S. will get out of this.
The property tax rates our families are staring down. Not anymore.
Watch, I mean, I don't have the solution. I'd say what I started with, and Israel is doing a good job, and I think they done most of that. Getting rid of elements that the people who make the decisions. I guess just yesterday, another general who was in charge of the Navy or whatever, they got rid of him, and that's important. Whoever did that, because that he was in charge of Hormuz Strait and all that. So we have to get rid of enough of these to create this lack of decision making, this fear that they cannot control as much as they are. They're still in control, and they're doing a good job for what they are, their capability. They're counting on one thing: to drag this enough for the political forces in U.S. to pressure and the world to pressure Trump to back out. And
that much I agree with you, and I think if you look at it like this, so you're just saying is they need to surgically kill the roaches, like that's what you're talking about. Surgically go there and find and kill people to enough pressure to make the thing collapse on its own.
And if you need contractors, if you need whatever, do it. And those from Afghanistan, they don't know that. That takes a lot more. You need professionals doing these things, whatever it takes. But whether it's from the satellites or underground, etc., we have to get rid of as many of these. That's not all the solution, but definitely that's one thing that I'd say we need to do. And then how to then substitute, etc. If we want to go the way that Trump does, is like negotiate until you get to a point that, first of all, they feel weak. A lot of their buddies are gone. A lot are gone, but they all expect that they're going to be martyrs and whatever one day anyway.
David.
So when they have their exit, where are they going to go? To Russia? To China?
Well, David, if you think sending in, contractors in is a good idea, what about on the opposing side, which is Russia sending Wagner in to do, their patrolling? So it becomes another Ukrainian stalemate forever type 20-year war, and nobody wins. There's no quick regime change.
100%.
I'm not talking about going to war. I'm talking like to get rid of people. That's a whole.
Oh yeah, he's saying you can't get the rebels to kill you. You got to bring in professionals to go in there and eliminate them. That's what you're talking about.
System that's been implemented in Florida, and if not,
yeah, underground, whatever it takes. I don't know. That's or the way they do it from the top, etc.
That's the only thing that you're so far. That's the only thing that you're so far. I don't think that's going to work. You got to make pros,
Nobody comes to my room to listen to me read a book. They want the dopamine and they want it now.
But in that kind of country, it's too
for the
risky.
mic. It's the same thing in the
They need
classroom.
to do that.
Children
They
want
did the
attention.
biometric tag
And,
if you're watching
we
the
have a bunch
podcast
of
about how they're
socialist,
operating
communist,
right now, and
left-wing
they've been
teachers.
tagging these guys. First
I
it
don't
was
think
cell
I really
phone
have a
for the
solution because
first run.
nobody
That's
would
how
want
they
my solution, which is
tried
like a
to spot
military
them, and now
solution.
they're doing the
Similar to the
biometric
way that
tagging.
Japan
They're
runs
using
their
facial
education system. We
recognition.
don't have
They're using
janitors
their
in our
medical
schools anymore.
record,
Boom,
and
just
it's
save
been very
60
planned
million
out.
there.
It's just that
It's not
us
like
as
kids are
people
cleaning the
who are
classroom
living in a
every
fast
day
food,
at 2:30 p.m.,
fast
2:45
food
p.m.
type
They're
of
sleeping,
mentality right
mopping,
now at the moment.
resetting.
I
So
need to see everything
a lot of
right now.
solutions, it's
These
always
guys have
personal
planned it, and
responsibility. That's the
it's not a
ultimate solution to
yesterday
our
kind of
problem.
a
We
thing.
can't
And Trump
keep
is not
just,
playing poker.
outsourcing and
These
I
hiring
agree with the
solutions.
biometric
We
tagging.
are the
Even though
solution.
I have
But
all
$1
that, I
trillion
can
a
still
year,
hide and evade
we collect
myself.
over $1
they're
trillion a year in
they're not
property
nuts.
taxes.
Like,
Across
they have
this country spent
techniques
200
and
million in
tools
the Department of
to
Education for
countermeasure
what?
that too. There's
I'm
Clubhouse
telling
will
you.
be the
No,
educational
no,
platform
like
of the
these
future,
guys, like
but we
listen,
refuse to
Iran
cut
is big,
costs.
but
We
people know
refuse to cut
places, you know, it's
administrative
not,
and
you can't
facility
build a
expenses
tunnel
and
and for
pension
people to
expenses.
not
Oh,
know
we
that,
owe
and
150
apparently they were
billion on
so
the
great
pensions.
doing that, right?
150
But
billion.
still,
Our annual
Israel
city
could,
budget's
we
at like
didn't know,
15
for
billion.
47 years,
How
nobody
the
knew
fuck are
under
we
the,
can't pay that off and we
House
just
of
keep borrowing
Supreme
and spending
Leader,
to
it
fund
was
all these
14
special
kilometer
programs and projects?
tunnel, what was it, like, nobody knew about that in the middle of a city that is still, at least people are, and there were multiple entrance points, like from school to hospital to it. Like they operate in such a level that they think that they got it, but at the same time, don't forget these guys been in Supreme Leader's son. He's been getting treatment and himself too in UK. I have a cousin there who is a doctor in the same hospital. She used to tell me 20 years ago that she sees them coming there, and when they come, it's a very heavily military presence. We didn't take her seriously. We thought she just wants to bluff. But now that we see the news, it's so bizarre. So, they've been getting medical treatments around the world, and that's how they can get tagged. They also use, satellite images to locate them. Israeli Mossad Intel says that they've been studying the Tehran streets for over 20 years. They know it better than a local person who lives there. So they can't hide, and nowhere else they can go. So
I'm assuming right now at this point that those operators are all pretty much in safe houses because they're flushing the streets right now. I'm pretty sure.
They're not. So, watch this. In the northern part of Iran is the place that everybody takes, like on weekends, they go there, right? And some little city villa in northern part of Iran is getting hit, and people don't know why. So turns out these IRGC guys are going to their friend's house in northern part, they're going to their mother-in-law's house, and still they're getting hit over there. So these are the things that doesn't come up as much in, media here because they see it as the low value type of a news, but people who live in there and remain in challenge, they expose.
I would just say one thing: they can't strike a missile with attack someone digitally in a highly dense civilian population. The U.S. is not going to take a risk to have another 175 whatever killed on bad intel. They can't afford to do that now. The Israelis can do whatever the hell they want; they don't care. But the U.S. is not going to do that.
A lot of them have also gone to the eastern province of Afghanistan, which is further out. But if they go to their mother-in-law and they don't communicate, that's a different story. I don't care. But wherever they are, if they communicate and eventually they get intercepted, that's the idea, and they know their whereabouts. Obviously, it takes time, and on the other hand, they now definitely have the intelligence of China and Russia too. So we are, in a way, as far as intelligence is concerned, it's like hackers,
Now we're talking like we're having like a guerrilla, like a under the table warfare going on, right? So I get what you're talking about, but that also takes time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Exactly. That's what it is. But we know that it's been U.S. and Israel. They have been successful. I mean, they got rid of so many, but here's the bottom line. I still don't know what the exit strategy was. I presume, based on what Trump is showing, is to get to a point that they come to a table and accept, the conditions of surrender, basically, what is asking all those 15 points and whatever. Well, they're not in that position yet. So how do you make them surrender? It takes more to get rid of more of them, whatever. Or is the regime change, and that's a whole different ballgame. And then, in that case, you need to get people involved, and whatever it takes, and the Iranian people who are against the regime, and that's a whole different story. I don't even know what.
So real quick, no one's surrendering. I do that, and any other scenario than that, we're talking long term. And all the opposition side just have to hunker down and just buy time. And so this is really a time and peace problem too. Like that's why you want the fast deal, right? But the thing is, there's no one surrendering here. And I think if they were smart enough to keep the can down the street as long as they can, because that would just make this whole thing even worse, and that might buy them. I mean, on the other side, they're also going to get some.
No, what hold on.
That they have in line.
I don't give a fuck who you are. You'll figure it out later. All right, so Alan, they're not only fighting the Gazans, they're also fighting in the Gazan conflict. They're fighting Hezbollah. They're also fighting the fucking Houthis. They're also fighting the fucking Iranians. They're fighting all the fucking Muslims in the entire fucking region that want to kill every fucking Jew. So, yeah, they're definitely the underdog, even if they're fighting the Gazans, because they're not just fighting the 2 million or whatever Gazans. They're fighting the fucking West Bank. They're fighting fucking Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, all these fucking terrorist fucking cells all over the entire region that want to fucking kill them and are constantly launching rockets. So, yes, they're the underdog.
That is all true, and it's all irrelevant.
No, it's not.
We're talking about okay.
No, because you can't take them in a vacuum. You can't take the Palestinians in a vacuum and be like, there's only 2 million Palestinians in Gaza that are in this conflict, but we're not factoring in all the ones in the West Bank and Jordan and Lebanon and fucking all over the other fucking place.
Where was the
Yemenis, fucking Houthis, and the
where-
Iranians that are launching fucking
and
rockets.
where was the majority of Israel's attacks? Where were they directed?
Gaza and southern Lebanon.
Well, there you go. And how many people are in Gaza?
What do you mean? What do you mean the 15, 16-year-old kids run around with Kalashnikovs fucking shooting?
And
Oh, the poor little baby's getting shot. Oh no.
How many people are in Gaza?
One of the most densely populated fucking areas on Earth.
Yeah.
The open air prison that has a fucking, European fucking car dealership and like 26 pizzerias along the fucking border.
Look, Rich.
It's such a horrific place.
Look, Rich, you don't have to agree with my logic.
No, I'm just. You're just mad.
At least
You're just mad that you found out that the fucking Armenians were hiding in fucking tunnels that the French built them, which is
Why
terrible
is
that
that
the French built you.
Why is that a problem?
No, because that makes you guys tunnel rats too, just like us Jews.
Why would I care or be insulted? I already know that the French saved over 1,000 Armenian.
Yeah, by building tunnels, and then you Armenians
The
headed.
Turks were trying to hunt down.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
Armenian genocide. Oh, such Armenian fatigue at this point, Alan.
Yeah. So you should.
I have as much fatigue as I do with the Iranians at this point, and black fatigue.
Offended by the term tunnel rat, that's your.
No, I said you guys are tunnel rats too. If the Jews are tunnel rats, then the Armenians are tunnel rats, because y'all are hanging out in tunnels too. Hiding and cowering in the tunnels.
Yeah, well, that's your portrayal of it.
No, it is.
Rich, it's you.
It is what?
What'd you say, Rafi?
It's you, Rich. Huh?
He finally figured it out.
You said it.
I told you I said it. He'll eventually figure it out.
Cocksucker. Cocksucker.
That was a genuine laugh too, though. What do you think? All he knows is he comes in and hears filthy fucking tunnel rat Jews, and he's like, attack, attack, attack.
But Rich,
He was gonna call me an anti-Semite. You anti-Semite Nazi motherfucker.
with my logic, but
No, because it's stupid.
Now you have
Well,
another issue.
Because you're stupid.
I mean, they won't be on the side of the IRGC and all, but there's going to be a really bad taste, especially with all the promises that was given. Oh, go in the street, we're supporting you, blah, blah. And so there's going to be a bad taste, and that's not going to help long term. So they're going to be left on their own and do whatever they need to do. And probably that might not have been a bad, solution to just get rid of what we can and leave it at that. Because everything else is like so complicated. But I think at least to have a better optics and better solution is, again, the least I can say is that there are a lot more of them we can get rid of, and that's where the focus has to be.
Can I just say that has anyone here, considered that what Trump says isn't actually what he means, and he doesn't.
100,000% that's how it works. That's my thinking.
Well, I mean that he doesn't really care whether or not he wins the war, because there's no such thing as a winner in war. The Tao Te Ching, a Chinese book, says that it's just two funeral processions. So if war is the final, branch of political means, like Chairman Mao says, Trump knew full well going into this that he wasn't going to win a war, but his true goal is to really just do targeted assassination, be as... Go ahead.
What if you create the boogeyman, and then you kill the boogeyman and repackage and sell it, and then make everyone believe you just did something better, or you made something great? I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, like, people think there's some kind of 5D chess. Trump might just be a 2D chess player, and the generals who advised him and his other advisors are of course, they're going to be extremely optimistic. And little do they know, the fog of war. No one can, see through it. So I'm just saying Trump, uh, with his 2 a.m. speech about the Iranian people, rise up and take control of your government. We are with you. You've never had this opportunity before. Well, I mean, that's Trump's.
Locked and loaded. That's what.
Yeah, that's Trump's projection. But what I'm saying is the real war is really just getting rid of the intelligence apparatus, which is the leadership and the thinkers of the body. So, anyways,
I mean, they won't be on the side of the RTC and all, but they will. There's going to be really bad tape.
so anyways,
So,
yeah.
can you tell me exactly? I missed that last part. What were you saying?
Sorry, we're talking to me. I was just merely saying that uh, Trump. It's because Trump is in a position where he doesn't have a beef or skin in the game. And he wants to please his Israeli patrons, but at the same time, he doesn't necessarily have the all-in attitude that his Israeli patrons may have. So I'm just saying that Trump is in a catch-22, and he doesn't even care about an exit. He just wants to please people, and he wants to create an equilibrium, which is what I think he's doing. But the people on this app who are calling, for artillery and a ground invasion, I'm not sure that they have the foresight to know that the outcome and the end game could still just be the same thing, which is a situation you're uncomfortable with still.
Yeah, I don't think I ever bought into that beginning at all. Right? I think this was a limited operation, but I think he bit more than he could chew, and I think he's trying to take a situation and take whatever situation he has and turn it into a great outcome that he can sell back. That's it. That's his definition of win. There's no win here.
Well, the war has been to the benefit of Israel. I think they're going to come out as winners. I mean, the regime that was there and the regime that.
What is your ultimate goal, Rafi?
I don't think she could name 12 countries.
Bima didn't say that. That was Alan. Get it right.
I mean, she implied it.
And I'm really upset that the attention was taken away from me and went to Rafi. So that's the most horrible thing of this.
Rafi, are you gonna let this anti-Semite talk to you like this? I meant Bima, not you, Alan. I know you're laughing because you got a guilty conscience.
I do. I'm racked with guilt.
Oh, she ran away! Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty we're free at last!
Republican Guard is closer to the IRGC than the general military.
Do you find it kind of fishy that there was like a Republican Guard in Iraq and also Iran? Like it almost feels like the CIA just made shit up.
No, it's not. I mean, the Iranian government is proud to have two separate forces. The equivalent in World War II was Germany had the Wehrmacht and it had the SS, and they served different purposes, and they hated each other. That's kind of what it is in Iran. It's two separate forces with separate command structures.
Yeah, I know. That's what we've been told, but I'm asking, like, maybe we're smarter, and the Cold War apparatus always put two ridiculous things against each other in all parts of the world, right? Like, we gotta be smarter than that at this point.
Yeah, but America didn't set any of this shit up. It was set up by the government itself. It's not like America
it's beyond
needed to set
control.
this up.
Like, once the Cold War started, right? Once you have a nuclear bomb, like one pointed at you and the other pointed at you, right? The American public's never gonna know the truth. It's just too intense. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's been a long time, like, I'm not stupid, you're not stupid. Like, you think Iran is picking the fight with the biggest lion in the room? It's the Cold War. know, am I just like crazy? We just can't be told.